The stars looked different through the observation deck of the coalition ship Starwind. Captain Zixathera stood with her clawed hands pressed against the cool metal railing, watching the small blue planet rotate slowly below them. Earth. Such a tiny world. Yet it had kept the Galactic Coalition busy for 30 years. Captain, the monitoring systems have finished analyzing their latest transmissions, said Officer Krelva, his insect-like wings buzzing softly as he approached. The Vrel's compound eyes reflected the blue light from Earth like tiny mirrors. Zixathera turned her reptilian head toward him. Her scales shifted from deep green to a troubled orange, a sign that worried her crew. Show me what you found. The holographic display activated above them, showing images from Earth's history. Battles, explosions, armies marching across continents. The sounds of gunfire and screaming filled the observation deck. Zixathera watched as humans fought each other with increasingly deadly weapons. Nuclear bombs turned cities into ash. Chemical weapons poisoned entire battlefields. They never stop fighting, whispered Dr. Nexara, her crystalline body glowing pale blue with sadness. Look at their children. Even their entertainment is about war and violence. The display showed human children playing with toy soldiers, watching movies about battles and learning about their violent history in schools. Every piece of media seemed to celebrate conflict and aggression. This is exactly what we feared, Zixathera said, her scales now dark red with determination. We cannot let another generation of humans grow up in this poisonous environment. The Galactic Coalition exists to prevent exactly this kind of barbarism from spreading. Officer Krelva nodded rapidly. The High Council has approved the rescue mission. We are authorized to extract human children before they become corrupted by their society's violent nature. How many ships do we have in position? Zixathera asked. 12 vessels, all equipped with the latest peaceful extraction technology. We can save hundreds of their young ones and give them proper education in civilized behavior. Dr. Nexara stepped forward, her crystal form chiming softly. Captain, I have identified several optimal targets. Children from military families would be the highest priority. They are most at risk of becoming violent like their parents. The display changed to show a military base in what humans called Nevada. Families lived there with their children, surrounded by weapons and soldiers. To the aliens, it looked like a prison where young minds were poisoned with thoughts of war. There, Dr. Nexara pointed to a specific building. The Martinez family. The father is Colonel Tony Martinez, a career soldier. The mother is Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes, Naval Intelligence. Their son, Jake, is 12 years old. He represents everything wrong with human child rearing. Zixathera studied the file. The boy looked normal enough. Brown hair, dark eyes, average height for his species, but his daily routine horrified her. Physical training with his father. Strategy games that taught military tactics. Stories about famous battles told as bedtime tales. Even his school curriculum included conflict resolution through strength rather than peaceful discussion. This child has been programmed for violence since birth, she said sadly. We must save him before it is too late. The extraction happened at night. Jake Martinez was sleeping in his room when the soft blue light surrounded his bed. The Coalition's transport beam was designed to cause no pain or fear. He simply drifted into deeper sleep as his body dissolved into energy and reformed aboard the Starwind. When Jake woke up, he was lying on something that felt like a cloud, but looked like a bed made of silver light. The room around him was white and curved with no sharp corners anywhere. Soft music played from hidden speakers, and the air smelled like vanilla and flowers. "Hello, young human," said a gentle voice. Jake sat up quickly, his eyes scanning the room in less than 2 seconds. 3 aliens stood near what might have been a door, though it looked more like a shimmering curtain of water. The reptile-looking one spoke first. "My name is Captain Zixathera. You are safe now. We have brought you to our ship to protect you from the violence of your world." Jake's face remained calm, but his mind was already working. 3 exits, the main door, and 2 ventilation grates, near the ceiling. The aliens appeared unarmed but showed unknown capabilities. Room dimensions roughly 12 feet by 15 feet. Artificial gravity felt lighter than Earth normal. "Where are my parents?" he asked, his voice steady. They cannot hurt you anymore, Dr. Nexara said kindly, her crystal body glowing warm yellow. We know how humans raise their children, all that fighting and anger and weapons. You will learn better ways here. My parents never hurt me, Jake replied, standing up slowly. He tested the floor with his weight, noting it was solid despite looking like it was made of light. Officer Krelva buzzed his wings sympathetically. Of course you would say that. Human children are taught to defend their violent families. But we have studied your species for decades. We know that military parents create military children. This cycle of aggression must be broken. Jake nodded as if he understood, but he was actually memorizing the sound patterns of their speech. Dad always said that understanding your enemies, communication was the first step in any tactical situation. These aliens thought they were rescuing him, which made them predictable. Are there other human children here? He asked. Yes, we have successfully extracted 47 young humans from various military installations, Captain Zixathera said proudly. They are all adjusting well to peaceful education. Can I see them? The aliens exchanged glances. Their body language was different from humans, but Jake could read the hesitation. They were not used to children who asked direct questions instead of crying or begging to go home. Perhaps tomorrow, Dr. Nexara said. Today you should rest and let us explain why you are here. For the next 4 hours, the aliens took turns telling Jake about the evils of his home planet. They showed him videos of wars, pictures of weapons, and statistics about human violence. They explained how his parents had been poisoning his mind with military training and stories of combat. Jake listened carefully to everything they said. He asked innocent questions about their ship, their technology, and their plans for the other human children. The aliens were happy to answer, pleased that he seemed so interested in learning about peaceful civilization. What they did not know was that Jake was gathering intelligence. Every answer gave him more information about their capabilities, their weaknesses, and their intentions. His parents had taught him that knowledge was the most powerful weapon of all. When they finally left him alone to sleep, Jake lay on the strange bed and stared at the curved ceiling. The aliens thought they had saved him from violence. They had no idea that they had just brought a predator onto their ship. Jake closed his eyes and began planning. Mom always said that the best intelligence officers were the ones who could smile, while they gathered information about their enemies. Dad taught him that every battle was won before the first shot was fired, through preparation and understanding your opponent. The aliens were about to learn that human children were not the helpless victims they thought they were rescuing. They were something much more dangerous than that. 3 weeks passed on the Starwind, and Captain Zixathera was growing more confused each day. The human child, Jake Martinez, was not responding to their peaceful education like the others. While most of the rescued human children had begun to embrace coalition teachings about harmony and nonviolence, Jake seemed to be getting worse. Show me the surveillance footage again, she told Officer Krelva in her private quarters. The holographic display activated, showing Jake's room from the previous night. Instead of sleeping peacefully like a normal child, he was doing something the aliens could not understand. He had arranged his furniture in strange patterns and was moving through them in quick, precise motions. His body twisted and rolled, striking invisible enemies with his hands and feet. The medical scanners show his heart rate and breathing remain perfectly controlled during these activities, Dr. Nexara reported, her crystal body flickering with worry. This is not play behavior. This appears to be some form of training routine. Zixathera watched as Jake used his eating utensils to practice stabbing motions. The plastic spoon in his hand moved like a blade, cutting through the air with deadly precision. When he finished, he carefully examined the furniture legs and tested their strength by pushing against them. He is evaluating them as potential weapons, she realized with horror. Even here, surrounded by peace and safety, he continues to think about violence. The next scene showed Jake in the communal area with other human children. While they played gentle games taught by the coalition teachers, Jake sat quietly in the corner. But his eyes were always moving, watching the alien guards, counting their numbers and noting their patrol patterns. He asked me yesterday about the ship's power systems, Officer Krelva said nervously. He claimed he was curious about how we create such comfortable living conditions. But the questions he asked were very specific. Too specific. Dr. Nagzara brightened to a concerned orange glow. I attempted to teach him meditation techniques to calm his aggressive thoughts. Instead, he asked about the ship's layout, how many crew members we have, and what our defensive capabilities are. He disguised these questions as innocent curiosity, but I could sense deeper purpose. Captain Zixathera felt her scales shift to dark purple with anxiety. In 30 years of peaceful contact missions, she had never encountered anything like this. The human child was polite, well-behaved, and seemed grateful for their care. Yet somehow he felt dangerous in ways she could not explain. Meanwhile, millions of miles away on Earth, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes sat in a secure briefing room deep beneath the Pentagon. Her husband Tony was there too, along with several other military officers she did not recognize. The man at the head of the table introduced himself as General Pete Morrison. "Your son did not simply disappear," Morrison said without wasting time on pleasantries. "We have been tracking unusual energy signatures in Earth's atmosphere for the past month. The patterns match theoretical models for advanced transportation technology." Lisa felt her heart stop. "Are you saying aliens took..." "Jake, we are saying that someone with capabilities beyond our current technology has been selectively targeting military families," Morrison replied. 48 children have vanished from bases around the world, all of them from career military households. Tony leaned forward, his colonel's training taking over. "What kind of response are we preparing?" Morrison smiled grimly. "The kind that officially does not exist. Lisa, your background in naval intelligence makes you uniquely qualified for this mission. Tony, your experience in special operations is exactly what we need. We have been preparing for this possibility for 20 years. He activated a holographic display that showed spacecraft unlike anything Lisa had ever seen. They were sleek and black with angular designs that looked more like weapons than exploration vessels. Project Sentinel has been developing these ships since the 1980s, Morrison explained. We always knew that first contact might not be peaceful. These vessels are designed for one purpose, to bring our people home, regardless of who took them. Lisa stared at the ships in amazement. "How many do we have?" "Enough," Morrison said simply. "And they are crewed by people like yourselves. Military personnel who understand that sometimes the only way to keep peace is to be prepared for war." Back on the Starwind, Jake was making his first real move. During the daily educational session about Coalition history, he raised his hand to ask a question. "Dr. Nexara, you mentioned that the Coalition has been monitoring Earth for 30 years. How many ships do you have in our solar system?" The crystalline alien glowed with pleasure at his apparent interest. "We have 12 vessels currently in position around your planet. Each one is equipped with the most advanced peaceful technology in the galaxy." "That must be expensive," Jake said innocently. "How do you coordinate between so many ships without Earth's governments detecting your communications?" "Oh, we use quantum entanglement communication arrays," she explained proudly. "The signals are instantaneous and completely undetectable by primitive technology." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "And all the ships are the same class as this one? The Starwind seems really big and advanced." "Actually, the Starwind is our command vessel. It is much larger than the others. Most of our fleet consists of smaller extraction ships designed for quick operations." That night, Jake lay in his bed and processed everything he had learned. 12 ships total, with this one being the largest and most important. Quantum communication that could be disrupted if the command ship was disabled. A fleet designed for peaceful extraction rather than combat. He thought about his parents and wondered if they knew he was gone. Dad always said that no enemy could hold a Martinez for long as he kept thinking like a soldier instead of a victim. Mom taught him that intelligence was about patience and gathering information until you could act decisively. The aliens thought they were dealing with a corrupted child who needed to be saved from his violent upbringing. They had no idea that his upbringing was exactly what would allow him to escape. Every bedtime story about military history, every strategy game, every survival exercise his parents had taught him was now a tool he could use. Jake began to plan in earnest. The aliens had made several critical mistakes. They had assumed he was helpless because he was young. They had underestimated human intelligence and adaptability. Most importantly, they had brought him aboard their command ship, giving him access to systems that could affect their entire operation. Over the next few days, Jake's behavior became even more puzzling to his captors. He started having nightmares that made him scream in the middle of the night. He began to wet his bed, something he had not done since he was very young. He started crying during lessons and asking constantly when he could see his parents again. Aliens were relieved. Finally, the human child was showing normal responses to being separated from his violent family. They increased their comforting efforts, spending more time with him and explaining how much better his life would be in peaceful, coalition society. They did not realize that Jake's apparent breakdown was completely fake. While they were busy trying to comfort him, he was using his freedom of movement to explore the ship. His nightmares gave him an excuse to wander the corridors at night. His crying fits allowed him to visit different sections of the ship with concerned alien caretakers. By the end of his 4th week in captivity, Jake had mapped the entire Starwind and identified its critical systems. He knew where the power generators were located, how to access the communication arrays, and which areas were most vulnerable to sabotage. The aliens thought they were slowly healing a damaged child. In reality, they had given a trained military, operative complete access to their most important vessel. Jake was no longer planning an escape. He was planning something much more ambitious than that. Jake's war began on a Tuesday morning during breakfast. The aliens had no idea that war had been declared, which gave him exactly the advantage his father had always taught him to seek. Strike first, strike hard, and make sure your enemy never sees it coming. The first casualty was the food delivery system. Jake had spent weeks studying how the automated kitchen worked, asking innocent questions about nutrition and meal preparation. The aliens were delighted by his curiosity about their advanced technology. They never suspected he was learning how to turn their own systems against them. When the breakfast dispensers began spraying nutritional paste all over the dining area instead of serving proper meals, the aliens assumed it was a minor malfunction. Officer Krelva buzzed his wings in annoyance as he tried to clean the mess from his compound eyes. "The maintenance crew will fix this quickly," he assured the human children, who were staring at the chaos with wide eyes. But Jake was already 3 steps ahead. While the maintenance crew worked on the food systems, he slipped away to implement Phase 2 of his plan. The ventilation system that had seemed so comfortable now became his highway through the ship. He had been practicing moving through the ducts for weeks, timing his movements to avoid the cleaning cycles and security sweeps. The ship's lighting system was his next target. Jake had memorized the maintenance schedules and knew exactly when the automated systems would be most vulnerable. Using techniques his mother had taught him about electronic warfare, he began feeding false signals into the lighting controls. The result was chaos. Lights flickered throughout the ship, creating strobing effects that disoriented the aliens. Some sections went completely dark, while others blazed with blinding brightness. The Vrel crew members, who relied heavily on their compound eyes, found themselves effectively blind. Captain Zixathera rushed to the bridge, her scales shifting rapidly between colors as stress overwhelmed her usual control. "Report," she demanded. "Multiple system failures, Captain," reported her communications officer. "Food dispensers, lighting, and now the atmospheric controls are showing irregularities." This cannot be coincidence, Zixathera realized with growing horror. Someone is sabotaging our ship. Dr. Nexara's crystal form flickered with panic. But that is impossible. Our crew is completely loyal, and the human children lack the knowledge to interfere with our technology. As if to prove her wrong, the ship's internal communication system activated throughout the vessel. Instead of the usual gentle chimes and peaceful messages, it began broadcasting sounds from Earth. Military marching songs, the roar of fighter jets, and recordings of human soldiers shouting battle cries filled every corridor. The alien crew members pressed their hands to their ears, trying to block out the aggressive noise. Many of them had never heard anything so violent and frightening. The rescued human children, however, stood straighter and looked around with sudden hope in their eyes. Meanwhile, in the depths of space beyond Earth's moon, Captain Rick Sullivan stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, humanity's most advanced warship. His crew was unlike anything the aliens had encountered in their peaceful exploration of the galaxy. These were soldiers, pilots, and strategists who had been training for this moment for decades. "Sir, we have confirmed visual contact with the alien fleet," reported his tactical officer, Commander Amy Parker. 12 vessels in formation around Earth, just as the intelligence reports indicated. Sullivan studied the display showing the alien ships. They were beautiful in their way, with flowing curves and gentle lines that spoke of a civilization that had never known real warfare. "They look like art sculptures," he said quietly. "No armor, no obvious weapon systems, no defensive positioning." "Should we hail them, sir?" asked his communications officer. "Not yet, Lieutenant. Let's see what young Martinez has planned for them first." Back on the Starwind, Jake's campaign was entering its deadliest phase. He had spent the morning creating diversions and confusion, but now it was time to strike at the heart of the ship. The power distribution center was heavily protected, but Jake had found a way in through the maintenance tunnels. The aliens had designed their ship with the assumption that only authorized personnel would ever need to access critical systems. They had never considered that a 12-year-old human with military training could bypass their security through sheer determination and tactical thinking. Jake crawled through the narrow service tunnel, moving with practiced silence. His father had taught him how to move without making noise, a skill learned from years of hunting and military exercises. The aliens' sensitive hearing worked against them now, as they could not detect his approach. When he reached the power center, Jake began the most dangerous part of his plan. He could not simply destroy the ship's power systems, because that would endanger the other human children. Instead, he began rerouting power in ways that would cripple specific systems while leaving life support intact. The first thing to go was the quantum communication array. Jake had learned from Dr. Nexara that this system coordinated the entire alien fleet. Without it, the other ships would be isolated and confused. He used his plastic eating utensils, sharpened through weeks of careful work, to cut through specific control cables. The effect was immediate. Throughout the ship, alien crew members began receiving error messages and system warnings. The bridge displays flickered and went dark. Emergency lighting activated as the main power grid struggled to compensate for Jake's sabotage. "Captain," shouted the communications officer, "we have lost contact with the fleet. The quantum array is completely offline." Zixthera's scales turned black with rage and fear. "Find the source of these problems immediately. Search every inch of this ship." But Jake was already moving to his next target. The navigation system was located in a different section of the ship, and he had planned his route carefully. As alien security teams rushed through the corridors looking for saboteurs, he slipped past them through the ventilation system like a ghost. The navigation sabotage was more subtle. Instead of destroying the system, Jake began feeding it false data. He input coordinates that would send the ship in the wrong direction, at the wrong speed, toward positions that would leave it vulnerable to attack. From his position in the navigation control room, Jake could see through the ship's external cameras. In the distance, he spotted something that made his heart race with excitement. Human ships were approaching, their angular black forms cutting through space like predators stalking prey. The aliens finally realized what was happening when their own ship began to turn away from Earth without authorization. The Starwind's engines fired at full power, accelerating the massive vessel toward empty space at dangerous speeds. "The navigation system has been compromised," reported the helm officer. "We are moving away from the extraction zone." Captain Zixthara stared at her displays in growing horror. Her communication array was dead. Her ship was flying out of control, and now she could see human vessels approaching her scattered fleet. Ships that moved with predatory grace and purpose, unlike anything in the Coalition databases. "How is this possible?" she whispered. We saved their children, we rescued them from violence, why are they attacking us? Officer Krelva's wings buzzed frantically as he tried to regain control of his systems. Captain, I am detecting massive power signatures from the human vessels. They are not exploration ships. They are warships. The truth hit Zixthera like a physical blow. The humans had not sent peaceful ambassadors or desperate parents. They had sent soldiers, professional military forces that had been planning and preparing for this exact scenario. As the first human weapons fired across the darkness of space, she realized that the coalition had made a catastrophic error. They had not rescued innocent children from a violent species. They had kidnapped the offspring of apex predators, and now the pack was coming to retrieve their young. In the depths of the Starwind, Jake Martinez smiled for the first time since his capture. Through the ship's external cameras, he could see the sleek human warships closing in for the kill. His parents were coming for him, and they were bringing the full might of Earth's military with them. The aliens were about to learn that there was a very good reason why humans had conquered their entire planet. They were not just another species to be guided and protected. They were predators, and they had just been given a reason to hunt. The space battle that followed would be remembered in alien history books as the day the galaxy learned to fear humanity. Captain Rick Sullivan watched through his ship's viewscreen as the alien vessels tried to form defensive positions. Their movements were clumsy and desperate, like sheep trying to organize against wolves. "Sir, the alien command ship is moving erratically," reported Commander Amy Parker. "Their navigation appears to be compromised." Sullivan smiled grimly. "That would be young Martinez. Intel briefing said he was Tony and Lisa's boy. Kids probably turned their own ship into a weapon by now." The human fleet moved with deadly precision. Each ship knew its role in the battle plan that had been rehearsed countless times over the past 20 years. The aliens had no idea they were facing the most advanced military force in human history, designed specifically for this moment. The first alien ship to open fire did so reluctantly, its energy beams designed for stunning rather than killing. The peaceful coalition had never developed real weapons of war. Their idea of force was putting someone to sleep rather than destroying them. The human response was swift and brutal. The UES Defiant fired a single kinetic projectile that tore through the alien ship's hull like paper. The vessel split in half, its beautiful curved design becoming twisted metal drifting in space. "My God," whispered one of the younger officers. "They have no armor at all." "They're explorers, not warriors," Sullivan replied. "They never learned that in this universe sometimes peaceful intentions aren't enough." On the Starwind, Jake was putting the final phase of his plan into action. He had disabled the ship's defenses and navigation, but now he needed to make sure the other human children could be safely rescued. Using his knowledge of the ship's layout, he began moving through the corridors toward the detention areas. The alien crew was in complete panic. Emergency lights flashed red throughout the ship, and the sounds of space battle echoed through the hull. Many of them had never experienced violence of any kind, and the reality of warfare was breaking their minds. Jake found the first group of human children huddled together in what the aliens called a comfort room. They were scared and confused, but their eyes lit up when they saw him. "Jake," whispered a girl named Emma. "What's happening? The aliens are acting really strange." "Rescue mission," Jake said simply. "Our people are coming to get us. Stay together and follow my lead." He led them through corridors he had memorized weeks ago, avoiding the panicking alien crew members. The children followed him without question, recognizing the authority in his voice despite his young age. They had all been raised in military families, and they understood chain of command. Captain Zixithera was trying desperately to regain control of her ship when Jake appeared on the bridge with 47 human children behind him. The sight of them moving in perfect formation following the orders of a 12-year-old was more terrifying than any weapon. "You," she said, pointing a clawed finger at Jake. "You did this. You destroyed my ship." Jake looked at her calmly. "I disabled your offensive capabilities and prepared for extraction. My parents are coming to get us." "Parents?" Zixthera's scales shifted to confused purple. "Those are warships out there. Military vessels designed for killing." Yes, ma'am, Jake said politely. My mom and dad are soldiers, so are all of their parents. He gestured to the other children. You kidnapped the kids of career military personnel. Did you really think they would just let you keep us? The alien captain stared at him in growing horror. But you are children, innocent children who needed to be saved from violence. We're military dependents, Jake corrected her. We've been training for situations like this since we could walk. My dad taught me escape and evasion. My mom taught me intelligence gathering. Every bedtime story was about strategy and tactics. Through the view screen, they could see the human fleet systematically destroying the alien ships. The Coalition vessels were beautiful but helpless, their peaceful designs offering no defense against weapons designed by a species that had perfected warfare over thousands of years. This is Commander Lisa Hayes of the UES Determination, came a voice over the ship's communication system. I am here for my son and the other children you have taken. Surrender immediately, and you will not be harmed. Jake's face lit up with joy. That's my mom. Sixthera looked at the boy with new understanding. The human child who had seemed so dangerous was actually showing restraint. He could have killed her entire crew with the sabotage he had performed, but instead he had simply disabled their ability to fight or flee. You could have destroyed us, she said quietly. Mom taught me that good intelligence officers only use as much force as necessary to complete the mission, Jake replied. The mission was to prepare for extraction and protect the other kids. Killing your crew wasn't required. The alien captain felt her scales shift to a color she had never experienced before, a deep, respectful silver. This human child possessed capabilities that terrified her, but he had chosen to use them with precision rather than rage. Bridge, this is Captain Sullivan, came another voice over the communication system. Prepare for boarding. We're coming to collect our people. Minutes later, the airlocks opened and human soldiers poured onto the Starwind. They moved with the same deadly efficiency their ships had shown, but their weapons remained lowered. These were not conquerors but rescuers, and they had come for their children. Jake ran to the first soldier through the door and threw his arms around him. Dad! Colonel Tony Martinez hugged his son tightly, then stepped back to look him over, with professional eyes. Report, soldier. Jake's posture straightened as he shifted into formal mode. Sir, 48 human children successfully extracted from detention. Enemy communication and navigation systems disabled. Ship's defensive capabilities neutralized. No friendly casualties. Tony's proud smile could have powered a small city. Outstanding work, son. Your mother will want a full intelligence briefing. If summoned by his words, Lisa Hayes appeared in the doorway. She was wearing full combat armor and carrying enough weapons to outfit a small army. When she saw Jake, her professional composure cracked for just a moment. My baby, she whispered, then caught herself. I mean, good work, Lieutenant Martinez. Jake grinned at his mother's use of his honorary rank. Thank you, ma'am. Permission to request immediate extraction? Granted, Lisa said. All units prepare for departure. As the human children were escorted to the boarding shuttles, Captain Zixathera watched in stunned silence. The alien crew members who remained conscious stared at the human families reuniting. What they saw challenged everything they thought they knew about civilized behavior. The humans were efficient and deadly, but they were also protective and loving. The same parents who had just destroyed an alien fleet were now gently comforting frightened children. The same boy who had single-handedly crippled their ship was laughing and joking with his younger sister. Captain, Officer Krelva said weakly, what do we tell the High Council? Zixthera watched the last human shuttle depart, carrying away the children they had thought they were saving. We tell them the truth. We encountered a species that has weaponized even their concept of childhood. Their young ones are not victims to be rescued but warriors in training. As the human fleet departed, leaving the crippled alien ships to limp home, Captain Sullivan opened a communication channel to the remaining Coalition vessels. This is Captain Rick Sullivan of the Earth Defense Force. You have returned our children safely, so you will be allowed to leave. But understand this, humanity is not a species that needs your guidance or protection. We are apex predators who have spent our entire evolutionary history learning how to survive and win. Our children are raised by warriors, taught by soldiers, and trained from birth to overcome any obstacle. He paused, letting his words sink in across the galaxy as the coalition ships transmitted his message to their home worlds. If you ever threaten our families again, you will discover why Earth conquered every predator on our planet. You will learn why our children can turn your own ships into weapons. And you will understand why, in a galaxy full of peaceful species, humanity stands alone as the one race that other civilizations should fear. Back on Earth, Jake Martinez sat in his bedroom playing video games like any normal 12-year-old. But these were strategy games, and he was already working on tactics that would challenge adult military officers. His parents watched from the doorway, knowing that their son had proven something important to the galaxy. Humanity's children were exactly what their species had made them to be. And in a universe that had forgotten how to fight, that made them the most dangerous beings alive.